Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Yesterday we started on one of my favorite topics, and that is happiness. And I urge you, if you didn't watch that video, maybe it's actually not a bad idea to go watch that one as well, either now or after you watch this one. And when we addressed or started to talk about happiness, we did a meditation at the end of our last video that I think struck a chord with a lot of people, and a lot of folks ended up liking it. The exercise was for us to sit in meditation and recall a time in our lives that we were really, really happy. And that reliving it and that meditation that we did was to try to recall that happy time, but with a lot of detail. Where were we? What time of day was it? Was it morning? Was it nighttime? Was it warm out or cold? Who were we with? What were we doing? Were we eating something? Were we talking about something? Those details of those happy times in our lives are the experiences that enrich us. And so the exercise that I did with you is in the happiness sort of realm and mindfulness by being present in the moment, but it's also evidenced by research in positive psychology. And what they have done is they've done studies where they've asked participants to use a time in their lives that they were happy as an experience that they can relive 3 times a week for 8 minutes a day. So they choose a happy time in their life. The researchers tell them for 3 times a week, use 8 minutes a day to practice just sitting there and reliving that happy moment. And what they have found is those folks, even a month after the research is done, they have better positive emotion, better, happier emotions. And the reason that's the case is that practicing and reliving things that make us happy, we don't have to actually relive the actual event. Just reliving it in our thoughts can conjure up those emotions of happiness. And so what I'd like to discuss today is the idea of intentionally savoring. So what that means is when the next time you have a happy or positive experience, really savor it. And savoring can be like really be present to it, which means ground yourself. Feel your feet on the ground. Really take in who you're with, what you're doing. If you're eating something, mindfully eat. That means chew slowly and really immerse yourself in that experience. The beauty of doing that and savoring that moment intentionally is that later in your life or later in the day or the next day, if you want to recall that event, you'll recall it with a lot more richness and a lot more detail. So for those of you who practiced the happiness meditation yesterday, try to practice it maybe in a week again and see if you can recall a happy event that has recently occurred and if it helped intentionally savoring it at the moment. My guess would be that if you were to have your next happy time that's happening, whether you're watching a movie with your family or whether you're having a meal or you're reading a great book, to relive that time and that experience will probably be easier if when you were in the moment, you were really savoring it. So that's a great way to practice being in the moment because we can recall it later. They've done research that if you spend money on stuff, it actually doesn't bring you the same level of happiness long term rather than if you spend money on experience. And the reason that is, experiences allow us to relive those emotions. So if you were on a trip, on a ski trip, and it was amazing and you were really savoring it, you can relive that. You can look at the pictures and you can sort of relive that experience later in your mind. But when you just buy the next pair of shoes you wanted, research has shown you buy it, your happiness spikes, maybe just the moment you get it, and then it kind of goes back. So it goes away and you can't relive that happiness again. So if we want to kind of intentionally bring happiness into our lives, let's talk about savoring and being in the moment in those events so we can recall them later with a lot of richness. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.